Airship.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Airship 27's podcast number 52. I am I am your co-host, Rob Davis, right? Airship's 27's chief engineer, alongside Captain Ron. Say hello, Ron.
Hello, loyal airmen, and greetings and salutations. Really glad to have you guys back here with us. We're a little late this month, but Rob and I will get back to why
I'll
of
tell you
that.
why.
Yeah, right. But before everything else, it's commercial time here at
Yep.
Hangar 27, and we are the proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. You can find every episode of the Airship 27 podcast on comicspodcast.com each and every month. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Comic Frontline, YouTube, where we are also video, don't forget, and of course, the Zone4Podcast.com. So, as ever, hey, welcome. And we've got some cool stuff to talk to you about this month. But before we get to that, this month, I get to tell the joke first, and Rob's going to chuckle us out at the end of the hour. All right. Okay. So here's Captain Ron's joke for episode 52. All right. And Rob, you're gonna love this. Okay. This comes to me by way of my sister Ann. All right.
Okay.
So I hope Annie's watching. All right. Okay. And an old married couple one summer night is sitting on the porch, and they've got a bottle of wine, couple glasses, and they're drinking their wine. And about an hour onto the porch, the wife sits back and goes, I love you more than words could say, and I really don't know what I'd do without you. There's a pause, and her husband says, is that you talking or the wine? And she says, it's me to the wine. I read that. I read that. When my sister sent it to me, I read it to Valerie, my wife, when Valerie died. All right. And she goes, you gotta read that on air. That's a winner. So there you go.
Well, mine's an oldie but goodie, but we'll get to that at the end.
All right. All right, you're up, buddy.
That was pretty good. Okay, vacation adventures. Having recently returned from separate vacations, so we decided to share a few of the highlights from some of those. Uh, from those, Ron with his trip back east to visit family in New Hampshire and Connecticut, while I headed east to southeast and north to South Dakota and some spectacular landmarks. The highlight of the Davis trip to South Dakota was the Dignity sculpture in Chamberlain. It's a beautiful metal and glass statue of a Native American woman facing toward the south in the rest stop between Chamberlain's two exits. We had been to South Dakota before, and the first trip we didn't stop to see Crazy Horse Mountain sculpture. This time we did. We went back, and that was high on the list, along with the Dignity sculpture. What impressed me most about the visit to Crazy Horse was the sprawling complex of art and displays on the site. They seem to be having an artist conference or sale there with a number of jewelry, pottery, and original paintings at booths set up inside the building. Some stunning works were displayed. On the way to South Dakota, we had to take a long detour around the flooding along Interstate 29, which runs up on the west side of Missouri up into Iowa, and then kind of runs into to South Dakota, and it runs right along the Missouri River, which was flooded. So we weren't able to take it on the way up there, but on the way back, we took it was back opened again, and we were able to take I-20 via return via I-29, and we're bowled over by the flooding we saw. It is just I've never seen that much water in one place except at the ocean. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just from there's two. I don't know if you've ever been along the Missouri River, like in Iowa or Nebraska or in that area,
No.
but there are cliffs on either side, and it's about a mile, maybe 2 miles apart, and then the river runs in a circuitous area in
Mm-hmm.
between those two. It went from cliff to cliff,
Oh,
and there were some places, yeah, there were some places where the water was within like a foot and a half of coming up over the road. So it had just gone down enough just to let us through, and they had us down to one lane at some places where the shoulder had been eaten away. So it was just, we just kept going, wow, and further we'd go another couple of miles, and it's just kept going and going and going. So there's a lot of water damage along there, and it's going to take some time for those folks along there to recover from this. And there was some flooding here in Missouri as well, but that was incredible how much
we've
water there
seen
was.
we've seen some of the news, stories as the flooding occurred in that part of the country over the last couple of weeks, and it's ironic because we've had a really wet spring here in northern Colorado, which is unusual for us. It's like every other day we'll have a day of sunshine, 70, 80 degrees, and then the next day it's 70, but it's raining like crazy, cats and dogs. And then like your adventure, it wasn't so much about the scenic aspects, as you said. We went back home to visit family, and we ran into a couple of solid rainy days. All right,
Yes,
I
yeah,
mean, I mean, there the day I'm trying to remember the day before we left. Right, we flew in to Manchester, New Hampshire, and rented a car. Took the car, drove south to Dover, where the nursing facility is, where my mom lives,
right,
and
yeah,
part of, as I mentioned to you before, the goal or target of this vacation was twofold. And that was, number one, was to see mom, who was a spry 94 these days, and along with my two brothers and sisters, because it would be the first time we had all been together in 15 years, and we pulled it off. It was phenomenal. It was an amazing reunion. It was so much fun, and again, it was a nice gift to her. She was ecstatic to have us all together again.
that's
All right,
cool.
right. So then what we did was we left the rent a car in Dover with friends of ours. We basically parked it there because my son drove over from Bethel, Connecticut. Believe it or not, with our granddaughter who was graduating from high school, he drove up with her to take her to the University of New Hampshire, which is the next town over in Durham, New Hampshire, because that's where she will be attending college next September.
Cool,
Yeah.
good for her.
So she was there for a 2-day orientation. So it worked out. Scott said, "Hey, leave your rent a car with your friends. You'll jump in the car with me and Taryn, go back down to Connecticut, go to the graduation, 4 days there, and then I'll take you guys back to Dover in the car." Okay. So second part of the trip, they pick us up. We have a wonderful, it's a little haul. It's like a 4-hour drive. We get to Bethel,
Wow,
and there's my daughter from Chicago with her mother and Scott, and I'd hope to see my son Kevin. Unfortunately, Kevin manages a big supermarket in Massachusetts and could not get away. But
yep,
hey, I
yep,
got two of the kids together, and you know what that's all about, right? This is so we got two of them together. Went to graduation night. Went to this big dinner party for my granddaughter Taryn afterwards. It was a really really fun trip to Connecticut, and it was really nice to see, the family again. So now 4 days are up. Scott brings us back to Dover. We get to Dover and spent one night there. The next morning, get up and guess what, buddy? It's raining cats and dogs. Okay, ride down to the senior facility for one final visit with mom before we're done with the vacation and pack our bags. Get in the car, and now we're going to head southwest on what's called Route 101, okay, to Manchester from Dover. And it is easily one of those, every state has a road that's particularly nasty with bad history and accidents and all this stuff, and
yeah,
people don't like.
yeah.
New Hampshire, it's 101, all right? Well, on a good clear day, you have to watch yourself, right? I got onto the road off the exits and whatever from the small towns. I get on the highway, Rob. I can't see one car in front of me. I swear it was pouring like
Wow.
cats, and I've driven this route in snowstorms. and whiteouts. All right, they weren't as bad as the deluge we were driving through. It's an hour drive, and by the time we got into Manchester at the hotel where we were staying before we flew out, yours truly was somebody get me a scotch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
I I was just a bag of nerves. It's insane, and that's what it's been like that all spring across the country. It's been one
Right.
of the wettest
Wettest
springs.
years we've had in a long time. Yeah.
Yep.
Since the last time we had a big flood here in Missouri was, I believe, 93, 93 and 95. That we had two big floods about 2 years apart back then. I know there was one in 93. I'm not sure when the other one was. It might have been 96. But anyway, again, it was in Missouri. It was from cliff to cliff, water completely across in the bottoms of
Well, hey,
Missouri, and that's what we've got again. It's yeah,
hey,
and
my heart goes out.
these
My
are
heart,
supposed to be 100-year floods, and here we're having them like 20, 30 years apart.
yeah,
So yeah, this is yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty serious stuff.
Well,
But anyway,
look, one last thing, just to finish the weather thing. Okay, what was it? The other day was the first day officially of summer. First day official of summer was what, the
mhm,
21st or whatever. Okay, that night
get snow.
yeah, snow up in the North Country. I said, "Welcome to Colorado." Oh my lord! All right, okay, all right.
Oh,
What's up
okay.
next? All right, Radio
Oh,
Archives does Airship 27 titles. Several episodes back, we reported how Radio Archives had taken on the entire process of producing all new Airship 27 titles and releasing them in both digital streaming and packaged disc sets. They began this new venture with Robert J. Mendenhall's book, Codename Intrepid.
yeah.
Since that time, they were very busy assigning lots of our books to various voice actors. We're happy to announce that the second such audiobook has been released, and it's my own Nighthawk, a World
Ah,
War I flying adventure thriller, as read by the amazing Nick Santamaria. It is our understanding that Radio Archives will be putting out a new book every Friday for the next few months. This is conversations I had with Tom Mason, and he had hoped to get it out 2 weeks ago, but because you and I were going to be gone on vacation, they held back until last Friday, the 21st.
you
Because
said
again,
Tom Mason, but you meant Tom Brown,
I
right?
meant Tom Brown. Yes, I did.
Right.
Thank you. Thanks for the
Okay.
correction. Right.
Yeah, because we want to use the right name.
Oh no, right. And Tom
Yeah.
Mason's an old friend from Malibu that maybe a few people already know. So yeah, no,
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Tom Brown's the man as far as radio archives.
Right.
So to keep abreast, we highly recommend all you loyal airmen to sign up for their newsletter on their website. It comes out every Friday, and that way we will also make announcements for each book via Facebook on the many pages, excuse me, to include Ron, my own Facebook page, Rob's personal page, the Airship 27 page, audio pulp page, and there's a half a dozen other pulp pages out there, friends, that I use to promote our book. So if you're one of
Right.
the thousands who really enjoy audio books, and believe me, nobody does them better than Radio Archives, then stay tuned. Lots of great fiction is coming your way.
Okay. Well, I'll take the sticks with it, and I think you'll probably want to elaborate on this a little bit. But Airship 27 Productions flies to Pulp Fest. No, it's not what you think. We've some rather exciting news in regards to this year's Pulp Fest to be held in Pittsburgh from August 15th to the 18th. As most of you loyal airmen know, while the show was held in Columbus, Ohio, it was one of our favorite venues each summer. But when they moved to Pittsburgh, it became economically impossible for us to attend, something we constantly regret. And even though Ron and I will not be at the show this year, there will be an Airship 27 presence in the form of our authorized representative, editor Jonathan Sweet. Jay, as he is known in the pulp community, approached us several weeks ago and inquired if we would allow him to sell some of our latest titles at Pulp Fest. After working out an arrangement that is mutually profitable, Jay purchased a nice quantity of Airship 27 books, which he will be selling. So all you look at this year's Pulp Fest, be sure to find Jay and check out the really awesome collection of Airship 27 books he'll have at his table. And to Jay, our tip of the Pulp Fedora.
There you go. And so what's happened since then, which is the addendum to this article that Rob just read off to you, is another Airship 27 writer, one of our favorites, Wayne Cary, is a annual attendance. He and his wife at Pulp Fest every year.
Right.
So when we worked this thing out with Jay Sweet about having Airship 27 titles, I made it a point of writing up a press release to that effect. And as we just mentioned, got on to the old Facebook promotion circuit and put it out there for everybody to see, especially a lot of our readers who've missed the fact that we haven't been at the show in the last few years. Now, amongst those was Wayne Cary. And Wayne got a hold of me and said, "Hey, Ron, I am going to be at the show this year." Wayne, by the way, is one of the many fine pulp writers who will be doing a reading at this year's pulp show. So you might definitely want to check out your calendars if you're going to be there to go and attend. I don't know which of his books he's going to be doing, but he's written several Alan Quartermain books for Airship
Right.
27, and recently did another one featuring a ghost unit from a Civil War reenactment setting. A company of ghosts, I believe, is a company of
Yes.
shadows. A company of shadows. So
Right.
Wayne's going to be at the con. Wayne sees my press release and basically hooks up with Jay Sweet. And lo and behold, they will both be together at two tables representing Airship 27. So even though you can't get the fun and the humor and the wit of Rob and Ron, now you're going to get Wayne and Jay. And please, please stop by their table. Tell them, we said hi, and check out some of it. Most of the titles, right, Rob, that Jay ordered are the newest things we've put out. So the odds are very good you haven't seen these books.
Well, and if you're Pulp Fest fans, we haven't been there in like this will be the third year.
Right.
Uh, yeah, now it's been two years since. Yeah, it's been 3 years ago when we were there, and so there's been 2 years where we haven't. So the even if he bought some stuff from previous before this last year, yeah, it'd probably be new stuff to whoever's there. I know he's got we definitely made sure he had some of the Sherlock Holmes stuff. He's got
Right.
copies of 11, 12, and 13. So at least a handful of copies, two or three copies of quite a few of our other books that have been put out in the last so if you're books and you want to pick them up at a bargain, go by his table. I don't know what he's going to charge for them, but I'm betting that it'll be cheaper than you could buy them at Amazon. So because
Right.
we made him a pretty good deal. We gave him a wholesale price on these, so you should be able to get them at a bargain. And
So,
so go
yeah.
by and say hi.
There you go. All right. Yeah. And, again, it's one of those things where we're going to be very anxious to see the results of this little venture
Yeah,
on Jay's part and Wayne's.
right.
And look, we couldn't have two better uh, guys to represent Airship 27. Okay, we've known both of them for several years now. They're very creative, they're very talented and personable. So again, go by, hey, and just say hi, and hey, if you want us back, start a petition. I don't know what the heck, right? Say, you know, but depending on how well this little venture goes with Jay and Sweet, maybe Rob and I in the future will rethink and relook at our position on all this. So
Right. Yeah.
not going to
Yeah.
promise anything, but like I said, I'm very excited about this venture, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
All right, and so now my turn. Yeah. Oh, and you know what? We're back to that fun part of the show, which is what's come out since our last show. And although, we do talk about, what's on the table ahead of us, this is what has actually been released since episode 51. And that's Jezebel Johnson, Volume 5, Dan Seuss by Nancy Hansen. In this, the fifth volume of Nancy's excellent pirate saga, our heroine sails to the Barbary coast aboard a French ship where she is recruited to act as a spy. Of course, as in most adventures, things go wrong, and Jezebel is once again left in a perilous situation. As ever, Nancy provided both tons of exotic locales, plenty of action, and some of the most memorable characters you'll ever encounter in a pulp
Yep.
adventure. Available from Amazon in both paperback and on Kindle. So please go check out Jezebel Johnson Volume 5.
Yep. 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 And what's coming next? Uh, Nothing on that front has changed much since our last show. Right now, two titles are moving along at a steady but slow pace. First is writer Michael Housel's new Persona novel, Green Fleshed Fiends. Again, say that one fast 5 times. Artist Kevin Paul Broden is doing the interiors, and Chris Rodding has finished his stunning cover. So as soon as Kevin wraps the it gets assembled. Second on the conveyor belt of pulp goodness is Mark Justice's Dead Sheriff novel, Holster of Death, written by Fred Adams Jr. I have begun the illustrations for this, and as we wait for Chris Rodding's cover. As you can see, we are keeping Chris busy. It is our hope to have this third volume available by the time we go to Pikeville Comic and Toy Con in Kentucky in August, as Mark's widow, Norma Kay, and many of his friends from Flatwoods are planning to come to the show and see us. It would be special to have it done for them, and that's my goal, is that we should have it done by them. Also, what's not is not in the on the agenda here that Ron has written, but I have taken upon myself, since some of the other books are coming slowly. He and I had talked about putting together the Robin Hood books by Ian Watson, and putting the volume like we did for what was it, the first four stories
First
from
four,
the
yeah,
Pirate Saga.
Jezebel Johnson books, right?
And so I've been assembling that. I'm going to do a new cover for it, and I just took the last 2 days. I set aside some time on Sunday, yesterday, to do this. I figured, oh, yeah, 2 or 3 hours, I'll have this pumped out. I spent most of the day yesterday working on this thing, making sure everything was, moving stuff around, and because it's okay. The way I had it before, of course, each one's an individual book, but then you start shoving them together into a bigger volume. You've got to play around with certain things, and the chapter breaks. I changed how those were so we wouldn't use up as many pages, because
Oh,
that
good.
was back in the days where I would, at the end of a chapter, I would end the page, and then the chapter beginning was on the next right hand
Right,
page.
right.
Well, sometimes that left almost a full page of paper. So I moved all those chapters over, and so of course that threw everything off. The pictures, the images had to be moved around to match that up. So that it ended up being a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. I just finished working on it just before we started recording. So hopefully, sometime this week I can get that cover done up. We can assemble that book and have it off, and have that out this month for another one of this month's books, because things have been so slow, and I think our fans deserve another book from us, and I think this would be a great one. If you haven't read these Robin Hood stories that Ian Watson has written, they are phenomenal. They are. I caught, but part of the reason it took so long, I was, as I was moving stuff around, a phrase would catch me, so I'd read the page and I go, stop, I gotta go back to putting it together, because he's
Oh, yeah. Look,
such a phenomenal writer
for those of you
in
unfamiliar
Robin Hood. So
with those books, yeah. Hey, look, again, for those of you unfamiliar with those books, go check out our website and our catalog. But here's the thing. When we first started the company, and we were only around for a couple of years when Ian suggested doing these Robin Hood things, and he basically said, I want to do the whole Robin Hood story, tell the legend, and you sit back and you say to yourself, how many times has this been done? I mean, that's the thing with mythology, right? I mean, how many Robin Hood movies have we seen? How many Robin Hood TV shows? How many Robin Hood books, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And it's the same story. You repeat it. Robin Hood, Maid Marian, the Sheriff of Nottingham, Little John, Friar Tuck, over and
Bartok,
over. Yeah, these characters are
Alan the
beloved.
Dale, yeah.
This is infused, I like to believe, in the DNA of England. And if you know anything about British history, you're going to trip across Robin Hood at one time or another. All right. So Ian's like, but he says, I can put a fresh spin on this. And I'm going, all right. What are we doing here? And Ian's idea initially was it was going to be a trilogy. It would be 3 books. And he wrote the first one, sent it to us, and both Rob and I, because Rob ended up doing the interior illustrations with the series. But as Rob has already mentioned, Ian blew us away. He just literally pulled the rug out from under us. All right. He literally took something that was so old and tried and made it new again
Yeah, he
without
really did.
without disrespecting the history of the character.
Right.
And in fact, he infused more authentic history in the saga than maybe any other writer ever done up until then. So
Yeah.
sure enough, we're tickled pink. The book goes out within the year, volume 2, another year, volume 3, and we're happy. We get 3 books out. Ian's we figure it's done. I think a year and a half, 2 years go by, and Ian comes back to us and says, well, I've got a collection of short stories that were never published. And we went, oh. And so, yep, wait, he didn't have to twist our arm. Out came Robin Hood, what was it, Lost Legends,
Forbidden Legend.
Forbidden
Forbidden
Legend,
Legend.
the collection of Robin Hood shorts that Ian had written over the years that had appeared in various magazines or whatever. Now we could collect them. So when Rob's talking about collecting the Airship 27 Robin Hood saga, much like Jezebel Johnson's 4 books in Nancy's omnibus, we're talking another omnibus here. We're talking 3 full-length novels plus the collections. All right.
Right.
Arguably, Nancy's book came in at over 600 pages, and I would hazard
732.
so so pretty much you'll have a ballpark of where Robin Hood's going to come in. All right, with Sporting, another great new cover by Rob, which I'm very excited to see. And yeah, look, the Jezebel Johnson omnibus uh, became a real hit with us and our readers and our fans. There were so many people who'd picked up 1 or 2 of the books and had been unable to get the other 2 and realized in one bunch, in between 2 covers, they could get the whole saga. And
Right.
that's our hope for the Robin Hood book. All right. I think Ian needs a huge audience. I think more people have to find this, and having it all together between 2 covers, I think is going to work like a charm. So
I'm
that's the plan.
hoping, yeah, because yeah, and it's been long enough that I think it can be it get some new energy infused in it by doing this. Plus, like I said, we haven't had. I had planned to do it, later in the summer, but then I thought, well, all the books that are in the pipeline are coming so slowly. Let's put this one out there so we've got some done.
Right.
So
And, right. And
hopefully, I
it's
should have it all done by the end of the week.
Yeah, and then and it's going to be something that we're very very proud of, and so
Definitely.
I tip of the hat to Ian Watson for convincing us all those years ago to do this. All right, okay, hey, a few new artists. Happily, over the past few months, we've been able to recruit several new and really talented artists to work on doing book covers and illustrations for our books. Again, we're always looking for more people. Never ever forget that fact, loyal airmen. Artist Jeff Sherwood is currently illustrating Volume 3 of the Masked Rider Tales of the Wild West. Right now, he's illustrating the novella from that book, A Masked Rider Story by our good friend Gordon Demowski. All right. This one, again, we also have a cover in house that was done by New Zealander Shane Evans. So once Jeff finishes the interiors, we should see Masked Rider Volume 3 move up the production line rather quickly.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Next
And
month may be pretty busy. I'm
we
hoping.
also
I'm hoping.
we also have high hopes for a new Brother Bones collection to be out hopefully by the end of this year. The subtitle will be Tales of Cape Noir, and it will feature a brand new story by yours truly. But the 3 other pulp writers will be writing stories featuring supporting characters that have appeared in previous Brother Bones stories, all right? The denizens of Cape Noir, if you will. Drew Myers, who helped us with the Brother Bones role playing game from Skullcrow Games and did such a great job with that, has written a new Lieutenant Dan Raines story. Andy Fix, one of our regulars at Airship 27, is doing a Sister Blood story. And of course, Master Scribe himself, Fred Adams Jr., has just finished a Harry Beast yarn. And if you're not familiar with the series, Beast is the gorilla mobster with the human brain. All right. So the plan is to get those three stories uh, by these various authors, kick off the volume, and then I will write the fourth and final volume to tie it all up. And that will be uh, Brother Bones, Volume 4, again, Tales of Cape Noir. So
Okay.
hopefully, fingers crossed, look for that. Uh, Michael Stribling, the artist who did the cover on our last Brother Bones collection, City of Lost Souls, has graciously returned to work on this new volume. Whereas this time, Michael is doing all the artwork, both the cover and black and white interiors as well. We can't wait to see how that comes out. He's really a gifted artist. And Steve Otis, uh, an artist from Quebec, I believe, Rob, has agreed to paint the cover for a strange historic horror novel called Behowls the Moon by writer Philip McCormick, which is, believe it or not, about a werewolf active during the Irish Easter Rebellion of 1918. It sounds wacky, but believe me, it's a
Wow.
great book. It's extremely well written. And
Wow.
and
Wow.
that's pulp, people. This is, when you read ideas like that, you sit back and you go, that's pulp. That can't be anything but pulp.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Steve's work can be seen online. Steve Otis. He's got his own web page. I recommend you check it out. He's into really dark, creepy monster kind of artwork. So obviously, doing a werewolf book, I figured Steve was the guy to tap, and
Yeah. It,
so
it's
did.
what I've seen so far. Really, it's gonna this is gonna be a fun book.
It is.
A
Yep.
great one to
Yep.
look
Okay. And speaking of Steve, I'll let Rob take the next agenda, which segues into that.
at. All right. The Brother Bones graphic novel. This is a good point to announce our newest Airship 27 Redbud Studio collaboration. We're producing a 130-page black and white Brother Bones graphic novel, sub graphic novel, subtitled "The Beginning." The first time ever, we will be delivering the Undead Avengers origin story in comic book form. Ron naturally wrote the script while artist Jim O'Reilly will do the artwork. Jim is a terrific graphic storyteller, and seeing his roughs of the early pages, Ron and I are tremendously excited about this project. But be patient, loyal airmen. It is going to take a while. At 130 pages, yeah. So here's the icing on the cake. While Jim works on the actual pages, Steve Otis is playing cover for it. We've seen the preliminary piece, and it is awesome. When finished, it will be one hell of a pulp graphic novel. Stay tuned. We'll keep you posted as ever as things develop. Absolutely. So looking forward to that one. Is that I'm also lettering that one, right? Is that am I lettering that or is somebody else
Uh,
lettering?
yeah. Yes. Yes. You are. I
I
believe you are
thought
lettering.
so.
Right. Yeah.
Yep,
Right.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because right. That was the agreement with Jim O'Reilly. Jim is doing the penciling and inking,
Oh,
and
cool. Okay.
and you'll be
And then
doing
I'll
the
start lettering them as they come in.
as
All
they
right.
right. But again, as you said, when I released the news about this a month ago or whatever on people, because I was very excited. Uh, you know, how Jim and I crossed paths is owed in great part to artist Caesar Feliciano, who brought us together. And Jim basically volunteering to do all the artwork. A 130-page graphic novel was just like a blessing from heaven, believe me, buddy. And he's
That'll
so
be a challenge.
oh yeah, but and one he's excited about because again, hopefully he read the script, he liked the script a great deal, and it excited him and inspired him. So in our back and forth, he said, "Well, I can pencil and letter this, but I can pencil and ink this, but I'm not that good a letterer." And I said, "Well, rest easy because we get the guy who started his career lettering in comics."
Yes,
Yeah, so
actually I did. I
yeah,
started I wasn't all that good. I've gotten much better since then. Of course, I've gotten better at everything fortunately. That's kind of the aim as an artist, is to constantly improve. But fortunately, computers make it much easier today to do lettering for comics. So yeah, it goes a lot quicker than having, and you don't get that hand cramp from doing
Uh,
all the hand
yeah.
lettering.
Well, so what I'm getting back to, when I posted this online, a lot of my friends were all excited. And so when can we see it? When's it going to be out? And I'm like, not this year. I can almost guarantee
Yeah,
you will not see it this year. Okay,
right.
right. 130 pages is a Herculean task, and there's no way we are pushing Jim in the slightest. Believe me, he has a
Nope,
wife, he
nope.
has a family, he has other things to do. And amongst those, he still takes commissions online to do artwork and whatever makes some extra bread, which we wish him all the, hey, go check him out. He's got a Facebook page. He's a super guy, and I cannot recommend, if you're looking for original artwork, go see Jim O'Reilly, and you will be happy for any penny you paid him. Believe me. All right. So yeah. So again, no pressure, no deadlines. When he's finished the art, when Rob has finished the lettering, the book will be produced through Redbud Studios, Rob's own comic line, and we will get it published, obviously, at that length via Amazon, and
Right.
people will be able to buy it at Amazon, and we'll have it at our shows and comic conventions and whatever
Absolutely. Yep.
when it's ready. So there you go. And finally, the last agenda will sound familiar to you, but there is a reason for that, and it's simply because it's an agenda I want to repeat, at the next few shows until we're there, and that's mark your calendars. We also want to remind all our loyal airmen that Airship 27 will be winging our way to Kentucky at the start of August, as we will be guests of the Pikeville Comics and Toy Convention. There are going to be tons of great guests to include Jim Shooter, Roland Mann, Mike Belcher, and just the other day they added the truly super talented Larry Hama. So if you live anywhere in the area, do mark your calendars for August the 2nd and the 3rd. No worries, we will continue to remind you in following shows, which is what this is. I'm not deleting it from the agenda, Rob. We'll repeat it every month until we're in Pikeville. But you know what? It's promotion, and again, the lineup is phenomenal. I'm humbled to be a part of that.
I, Jim Shooter, a
Larry
legend in
Hama.
comics.
Yeah, I
Larry
mean,
Hama, wow.
yeah.
It
So
just and this is a little comic show that I had not heard of before, and they've got these couple of really big names coming. I'm going, wow.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this, I'd like to add another show to our trips each year when we can. And
just
this
fell
is
right into our lap.
that, until we can, fingers crossed, we can do that sometime in the future. If they could finally start getting more attendance at Pulp Fest, we can go back to that. But
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. But this looks like a lot of fun.
it does. I am very excited about it, and I'm really big time looking forward to going. So okay, so that's pretty much what we have listed on the agenda. But before we get to Rob's joke, which I know all you guys are waiting for anxiously, all right. There is another personal agenda that Rob and I want to bring to your attention, talk about a little bit. One of our dear friends in the new pulp community, and he's a writer, editor, and just an all-around nice guy, is Jamie Ramos. And a few years back, via diabetes, that bloody thing, his kidneys began to fail. And so, just within, like I said, the last 2 years, Jamie was put on dialysis. And if you have friends, relatives, or even yourselves know what that is all about, it's a very torturous way to live. Your
Yeah.
blood has to be cleaned artificially every so often so that you can stay alive. Now, Jamie, again, like I said, isn't very old. He's married, he has a son, and recently filled out some paperwork with his doctors and the people that he goes to for his dialysis, cleanings, about the possibilities of being a candidate for a kidney transplant. Now, what's going to happen is he's been put on a list. Well, he's been put on a committee list. The committee will
Right.
review his situation, his age, all those kind of things. And if he is a worthy candidate, then will actually be put on a waiting list for a new kidney.
Right.
So we would ask all you loyal men out there, please, whatever your faith or not faith, send some good wishes, some karma, and whatever towards Jamie's way. All right. He's a great guy. He deserves to be on this list. And a new kidney would change his life tremendously. All right. Would literally let him live a normal life again with
Yeah,
his wife
there.
and his son.
I drive for the paratransit system in Columbia, Missouri, near where I live, and there's a number of people that go for dialysis every day, and it's the side effects are not they're not deadly, but they're very irritating. I mean, you get itching, and there's just a number of different things that go along with this. It's kind of a torturous way to live. I mean, you have to go every 2 or 3 days to have them put a thing in your arm, or some people have actually a stent put in so that they can hook them up and
Yeah.
pull the blood out of their body, run it through this machine to clean it, and then put it back into them. And so when they do that, it also takes all the nutrients out of your blood. So that while they're doing this, they have them drinking juice and eating, different things. And but certain things that you eat can irritate you as well. I was talking about that itching and that sort of thing. It's a very torturous way to live. So if he can get this transplant, that's going to eliminate all of that. He's going to have a whole other set of problems. He'll probably have to take, some medications to keep his body from rejecting the kidney, but it's a lot better than having to deal with the torturousness of having
Amen. Amen.
kidney dialysis.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's life saving, but it's also very bothersome.
Right.
It's a rough way to live,
Right.
But so fingers crossed, prayers,
Hey,
good
Jamie,
thoughts
I know
that
Jamie
this
watches
happens
the
for you.
show, and so hey, Jamie, we're all in your corner here, okay? The entire Airship 27 crew is pulling for you. And you know what?
Absolutely.
I almost forgot. We actually have a question that Jamie sent in, and I'm going to let you tackle it because I honestly don't know how to answer this thing. So it's your ballpark.
Okay. Well, okay. Let's see. Okay. Jamie writes to us and he says, "What new pulp characters have made the biggest impact on the genre?" And that's new pulp characters. I think we had this question asked before, and it was about the old pulp characters. So this is kind of a flipping of that to the new pulp. And the last time this question, I'm going to read this here. The last time this question was about the most impactful pulp characters. Here, Jamie is asking about new pulp. I'd suggest the biggest impacts have been Ron's own brother Bones. Also, Dylan from Derek Ferguson has made some waves, as has Barry of his characters, Lazarus Gray and the Rook. I'm sure there are more I'm not thinking of, but these pop immediately to my head when I was reading this question. Can you think of any others that kind of jump to the fore when you think about
Uh,
this?
there, there is one, an aviation hero, um, by a writer that you and I met just 3 years ago at our last Pulp Fest, and that was Charles Millhouse. And for the last 4 years, Charles has been writing a series of adventures featuring a Captain Hawkins, which, in the vein of all the old
Okay,
classic aviation pulp heroes.
I'll have to look that up because I'm not remembering that. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
been 3 years, so
yeah, yeah.
okay. And
He,
once I see it, I'll probably go, oh yeah.
well,
But
my memory of it is strong only because I had him on my new pulp panel that year, and it was the first time
ah,
he came. And
yeah,
excuse me, and the first time we met with Charles. And this has been a very steady series. And I don't know how many books are in the series, but I do know he's got a very strong following. So obviously,
great.
Captain Hawkins is making an impact as well. All right.
Okay.
So again, and I thank you for mentioning Brother Bones.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I think
I,
he's
I,
made an impact. I
I,
do.
I definitely, you have to include Dylan. There's no way you can't include Dylan.
Yeah,
I think that's huge. Um, again, again, most of the other new pulp writers tend to write different properties or whatever. Frank
they don't have
Shinlin,
a series with one particular character that they follow. Uh,
whereas
yeah.
our buddy Frank Schaldiner, recently got into the series business, and
Right.
he's created 2 series now that he's doing. One is of the Frankenstein monster. He's done 2 books.
Right.
The
Yeah.
Frankenstein monster as his primary character, which I think is nice because it falls into the same vein that I was trying to pull off with Brother Bones. When I was creating Brother Bones, to me the idea was to take the Mask Avenger and then combine it with the horror element, like a
Right.
universal, and that was the idea of Brother Bones. So here you have Frank basically just going after the classic horror monster Frankenstein and making him the protagonist. Now he's done 2 books in this series, and then last year he wrote a book which I haven't had the opportunity to read yet, but the title of it, just again as we talk, Rob, pulp, right? Napoleon's Vampire. Okay. Well, I
Okay.
not
Just that alone, it sounds interesting.
right. Well, not being much more aware of anything in the plot or whatever. Uh, I do know for a fact that Frank is on the verge of releasing a second book in this series. So apparently, this is going to be a recurring character
Okay.
as well. So they're out there. The truth of the matter is, Jamie, that Rob and I have a limited knowledge in that most of the times we're busy trying to get out our own
Yeah.
books, and the
And
only
I don't read that much other than what I'm illustrating. So,
right, and the only other time we get that exposure is when we're at the actual pulp shows, which is
right.
like so how I met Charles Millhouse and became aware of Captain Hawkins. So I'm sure there are many others out there, and I would urge all our loyal airmen to go out and find them, to go out and read those books. The Barry Reese books of Lazarus Gray, I know, is one of the hottest selling series in new pulp today. He has a
Absolutely.
tremendous following, and the same can be applied for Dylan. Dylan's done a half a dozen books. I've read 3 or 4 of them. I think they're top notch. So there's some really good stuff in the new pulp field, and hopefully more and more coming every single day.
Yep. Okay. All right. Here we go. I guess it's down to this. All right. Since I always try to find a theme joke, and since we started off with vacations, I thought I'd do a vacation theme joke. All right. 2 priests were going to Hawaii on vacation and decided that they would make it a real vacation by not wearing anything that would identify them as clergy. As soon as the plane landed, they headed for a store and bought some really outrageous shorts and flashy Hawaiian shirts, sandals, sunglasses, etc. The next morning, they went to the beach dressed in their tourist garb and were sitting on beach chairs enjoying a drink, the sunshine, and the scenery. Presently, a drop dead gorgeous blonde in a tiny bikini came walking straight toward them. They couldn't help but stare. As she passed them, she turned, smiled, and said, "Good morning, Father." "Good morning, Father," nodding and addressing each of them individually. They were both stunned. How in the world were they recognized as priests? They went back to the store, bought even more outrageous outfits, and again they settled on the beach in their chairs to enjoy the sunshine, etc. After a while, the same gorgeous blonde, wearing a string bikini this time, came walking toward them again. They were glad they had sunglasses because their eyes were about to pop out of their heads. Again, she approached them and greeted them individually. "Good morning, Father." "Good morning, Father," and started to walk away. One of the priests just couldn't stand it, and he said, "Just a minute, young lady. Yes, we are priests and proud of it, but I have to know, how in the world did you know?" She said, "Oh, Father, don't you recognize me? I'm Sister Catherine."
Oh yeah, all right. Oh, two can play at that game, right? Yeah, right. Sister was enjoying her own vacation.
Yeah, string bikini. My goodness. Woo!
Oh my. Okay. And there you go, loyal.
More
These
than
are
one
the
level.
right.
Nope.
Yeah. These, oh, you know what's going to happen. Now, next time I see a nun, this is going to just going to
Yeah.
go. Oh,
Uh-huh.
All right.
And for that matter, a priest in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts and sun.
Oh, hey. All right. Hey, look.
Bodies hadn't seen the sun. White as a sheet. Oh man, yeah, I did. Okay, well, that was bad. That was bad. I agree, but that funny. Okay, I guess we're into the show.
We are. Anything else do you want to bring across before we wrap it up?
I couldn't think of anything else to add to this. Like I said, we were I think the one thing that I added to the agenda was about the Robin Hood book. I think everybody should be looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to having it out there because I think it's a great addition to our catalog, collecting all those into one, and that seems to be that seems to get our readership excited. It's usually less expensive collected that way than buying the individual books. So maybe this will reinvigorate this particular series.
Well,
I think a lot of people, more people need to read this. It's just crazy good. It really is. He's really updated all the stuff.
I totally agree. I think it's one of the best series we've ever published, and I think
Yes.
I think again, like I said, it deserves a much wider audience, and maybe this new omnibus volume will catch that for us.
Well, and the fact that he's been in each one of our Sherlock Holmes books, people maybe will recognize his name and see this and go, "Oh, yeah, that's that Sherlock Holmes guy." Well, yeah, he's also the Robin Hood guy. He's and he's written some other mythologically based stuff as well. But this is what we've got from him is the Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood, and he just knocks this out of the park. He really does. It's a great series.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, I'll let you say you good nights, and I'll follow soon.
This is Chief Engineer Rob Davis from Airship 27. And Ron?
And Ron says, enjoy the summer and down ship.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.